very, very almost filamentous ligament. It's very, very thin, and it sits on top and holds that tendon in there. But in wrestling, you know, where wrestlers will have somebody lying on their body and they're working really, really hard to try and get out of the pin, they do a lot of elbow flexion and internal rotation, and sometimes the tendon will be under so much tension that it just rips through this very light ligament and it pops out of the groove. So, and it doesn't really hurt, but in certain positions, usually elbow flexion and external rotation, it will pop out. They can feel it snapping. It's like we call it a popping tendon, and you can just feel it moving in there. So we can replicate that by finding, the first thing we do is just find the bicipital groove right here, and then I would get her to mimic the mechanism. So I get her to flex her elbow. She lifts up against my hand, and while she's flexing her elbow, I'm going to externally rotate her humerus. And if I feel that tendon pop underneath my finger, it'll just go boom outside the bicipital groove. As soon as the arm comes back in here, the tendon will fall back into the bicipital groove again because it's got a mountain on the side. So that's called your Bazin's test for subluxing tendon of the long end of the bicep brachii. What are the other tests? The internal-external rotation test is really just exactly what I did for the rotator cuff. That's external rotation, bilateral weakness or pain, and internal rotation. And again, remember, if you're not strong enough, if they're crushing their hands, you can just stick your hand in here and have them squish that way. Or some people do it like this. And I'm stronger using my pecs to resist her arm this way than I am by using my external rotator. So that's another way that you can resist that. And you're still doing a bilateral, so you can feel it. Yeah, drop arm test is a test for an injured supraspinatus. So I want you to differentiate between a muscle function test for supraspinatus, which was resisted abduction from 0 degrees. That was the functional muscle test. This is called the drop arm test. And there's two different ways of doing the drop arm test. You start with the athlete to hold their arms out here, and then you ask them to slowly lower their arms, really, really slowly. And as the supraspinatus goes on stretch, if it's injured, it'll cause a reflex arm, and one arm will just collapse, it just hangs down. The other way to do it, and the way that I like doing it, is to create more stretch faster. And what you do is stand behind, get the person to say, hold your arms out nice and straight like that, and then you just go like that. Like that. And that's exactly what happens. You get a real quick shock stretch to the supraspinatus, and one arm will just go boink like that, and you're standing there with one arm out, and you can't stop it from falling. So it's a little more dramatic, and they don't know that it's coming. Jump under their skin. Is that all the tests?